Alright, YouTube, so we're back, of course, to talk about some random bullshit. Today we're discussing The Walking Dead. Obviously something I'm a big fan of. I've talked about it a few times on my main channel. Obviously, my biggest video on my main channel is Walking Dead related. We're talking about the upcoming potential movies, but more than likely just a single movie, if that even happens at all. Now, this video came about because I've seen a recent rumor that they're going to finally start filming at least the first movie, or again, maybe the only movie, in spring of next year, spring 2022. And my first thought was, what the fuck? Like, I knew they hadn't started some time ago, like half a year ago, something along those lines. I knew they hadn't even started even production or anything about the movie at all. Just kind of conceptualizing it. I don't even know if there's a script yet. But when I hear that they're not even going to start filming until, spring of next year, my first thought is, what the hell? Because Rick Grimes, the main character of The Walking Dead, right, the lead character, left the show over 3 years ago. He left in 2018, I think November 4th, if I'm not mistaken, 2018. It's been over 3 years now, and the whole point of him leaving the show to, kind of curb fan backlash was that, okay, Rick Grimes is leaving, the character's not going to die, and we're going to do 3 movies. We're going to do a trilogy of movies with this character to kind of satiate the fans. And again, it's been over 3 years now, and they've not even started anything, really. And what also kind of compelled me to want to make this video is that I'd seen something in a different video discussing this, talking about this, is that what if they announce these movies just to try to get people to keep watching the show? Like, don't worry, guys, Rick Grimes isn't done. The character's still there. There's going to be a trilogy of movies for him, or again, maybe one movie. I'm going to keep reiterating that because it's probably not a trilogy anymore. We're going to make these Rick Grimes movies, and maybe we'll drop Easter eggs and hints throughout the show that'll lead eventually to the movie. So they're trying to get people to continue watching the series. And what if there's never really a plan to make this movie? Now, I know Andrew Lincoln himself has come out and talked about being like a producer on these movies and stuff like that, and talking about these movies that they're going to happen. And I'm sure there's going to be at least one inevitably, but after a certain point, as big of a fan as I am of The Walking Dead, been here since day one, season 1, episode 1, the fucking premiere, I don't know that I care at this point. Like, as much as I like the character of Rick Grimes, potentially my favorite post-apocalyptic character of all time. You got to think, video games are awesome, right? And there's some great characters, within The Last of Us and stuff like that. There's some great characters in, the post-apocalyptic setting. But you play those games for, a handful of hours, right? 10, 20, 30 hours, maybe even less than that, depending on the game. I've been watching the character of Rick Grimes for over a decade or so at this point. I mean, he left season 9, so it wasn't quite a decade, but still, it's pretty close to, 10 years of my life. Hour-long episodes. He's in most of the episodes through a good portion of the episodes, right? At least he's one of the main prominent characters in most episodes. So I've been watching this character for a very, very long time, and I've grown really attached to this character. But even if him potentially being my favorite post-apocalyptic character of all time, I don't know that I give a shit because of how much time has passed. And when I said that I don't know that I really care, obviously when this happens, if it happens, I'm going to watch. I want the conclusion to that character, that story. I want to see what happens with the character of Rick Grimes. Even if it's not necessarily canonical, because I don't know that they're going to go the same route as they did in the comics, because in the comics, spoiler warning if you don't keep up with the comics, Rick kind of gets, killed, kind of in a bullshit way, a random character shoots him, and then I don't remember if, it flashes forward, 20-something years, Carl's, an old man and stuff like that. I don't remember if Carl kills the guy that kills Rick. I can't remember off the top of my head, but, it was just such a bullshit ending for that iconic character, and part of that might be because Robert Kirkman just wanted it in the comics, and I think that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but I know Kirkman had a lot of beef with AMC, and I think the show was more so AMC's property than it was Kirkman's in the more modern era, and he was still doing the comics, and I personally feel like he ended the comics so that they wouldn't have a source material to continue the show anymore. That's a whole nother tangent. But again, I feel like they're going to do something different when it comes to these movies, and obviously I want to see how they conclude the story for this character. How do you end this decade-long, show/series, but also, it's been, I think, 10 years in the show as well, so, and he's been gone from the main show for, 6 years, because after Rick left, it, did a time jump of, 6 years or something. Or something along those lines, right? It's been a lot of years since Rick Grimes has been a part of the Walking Dead, universe or so, so what's he been up to this entire time? So, of course, I'm interested in that stuff, but again, it's going to go on 4+ years by the time we even see anything from this, because if they start filming, let's say, spring of next year, that means we're not really going to see anything until either late 2022 in terms of a trailer, and we're definitely not seeing anything for this, or at least the release date of this, until 2023. So again, we're going to be pushing 4 to 5 years since Rick Grimes left the show. Kind of fucking ridiculous. And the thing is, I've already stopped watching. Now, I've kept up with, the last season or two, with, reviews and watching people's, reactions. There's channels I watch that do, full-on reactions to like episodes. Obviously, it's chopped down, so it's not an hour-long video I'm watching. It's like a 20, 30-minute video. But I'm getting like the gist of each and every episode. So I've kept up with the show. I know what's going on. Plus, I watch other channels that review it and stuff like that. So I've kept up with it to some degree. But I've personally stopped watching. And I always said this from back in the day. I have plenty of characters that I think were great characters for The Walking Dead. Shane is one of my favorites, of course, but he died in season 2, so a very long time ago. But Rick has always been the main guy. Now, he's always been my favorite character overall. Maybe he's tied with Shane. I don't know. Shane's a pretty good character. But I've always said that if Rick died, I would leave the show. Now, Rick did not die, but he definitely left the show. And without Rick Grimes, he's the main character. And a lot of that blame, and I don't know if anybody's ever really said this, it's my personal opinion, I'll say it right here on video, a lot of the blame goes to Andrew Lincoln too, the actor, because he left the show. Now I've heard that he left the show because he wanted to do other stuff, not just The Walking Dead, right? He wanted to be like stuck in this genre. Then again, he's been playing the character of Rick Grimes for like 10 years, so he's already stuck in that genre and that character. But I get one to branch out and try other stuff. But also having to like come over here to America and film in like the heat of Georgia and shit like that or whatever. And his family lives in England, so a lot of that travel back and forth. I get that, but he's still the lead main character of the show. And a lot of the downfall of the show and a lot of people leave and no longer watch and so on and so forth, it falls on him to some degree. And it might also be behind the scenes stuff, because again, like I said, there's a lot of drama behind the scenes with like Robert Kirkman and AMC, and I know like Frank Darabont has been suing AMC for a long time, and I think he won like this year, last year, something along those lines, like $200-something million or some shit. He won that lawsuit. Again, there's a lot of drama behind the scenes, and that could have been a good catalyst for why he wanted to leave the show, but still, you're the main character. You're making a lot of fucking money from this show. Why would you leave? And why I say that I blame him is because he left like of his own accord. Like he left because he wanted to. There's certain other like bigger characters that have left. Like Sasha, for example, like the actress left because she wanted to be like in a lead role for like the Star Trek series. And some other characters and actors have left because of stuff they wanted to do outside of The Walking Dead. And then some characters, big characters like Andrea, back in like season 3 or 4, whatever it was, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's been so long since I've watched it. Like she was killed off by like Scott Gimple and some other people that were on the show. And nobody wanted her to leave. Andrea is a very prominent character in the comics, but she was written off the show by like the writers and stuff like that. She didn't want to leave. Again, Andrew Lincoln's the lead actor, the lead character on the show, and he chose to leave. So a lot of the blame for the downfall of the show and like the loss of interest for a lot of people, it falls on him ultimately because he chose to leave. Another prime example of somebody leaving the show because they want to be branch out and try other things and be in different shows was, of course, the actress who plays Maggie. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but she left to go do like Whiskey Cavalier. I couldn't even tell you what the fuck that show is about. I watched the trailer for it, and I knew right away that you could watch this trailer, this show's going to be a flop. And I don't know how actors and the people who make these shows and movies can't see that. I know they're working on it, they're passionate about it, but as a fan, as a consumer, I can just look at this and know that it's going to be a flop. And of course, Whiskey Cavalier flopped. I think it only had the one season. And then Maggie came back to the show. Now, ever since she's come back, that's another thing that made me lose interest in the show. I don't care about her character now, and especially because of the actor, or the actress, whatever you want to say, because I know that she's only back here because her career is dead without Walking Dead. That's the kind of thing with a lot of the actors from The Walking Dead. Don't get me wrong, some of them had careers before The Walking Dead, and John Bernthal being a prime example, has had a major career since The Walking Dead, but the majority of them are put into this box, into this niche of The Walking Dead. People know them as the Walking Dead characters. Even, Daryl, right? Norman Reedus, he was in like Boondock Saints and like Blade 2 and some other shit before The Walking Dead, but people know him as Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead. So a lot of them, when they want to branch out and try other stuff, like you can try it, but generally speaking, unless you're John Bernthal caliber of an actor, you're going to flop. And Walking Dead is where you should have stayed. And look, I think Andrew Lincoln's a fantastic actor. He was in, I think the only thing he's really known for before Walking Dead was it P.S. I Love You or something, some sort of rom-com or some shit. That's what he's really known for. But obviously Walking Dead has blew him up, but he's not the kind of actor who can just go out and do his own shit and it's going to like put a bunch of eyes on him. Like he's done some weird shit. Penguin Bloom, I couldn't even tell you what that is either off the top of my head, but I know it's a bullshit-ass, weird-ass movie that's nobody wants to watch him in, because ew. And look, this video is not meant to be like a hit piece on the actor Andrew Lincoln, but again, he's a big reason for why like people stopped watching the show. Like you can see it everywhere over social media every time they share something, anything, a trailer, a snippet, an interview, whatever it is, people are like, I stopped watching when Rick left. And that's very, very true. And again, if he was written off the show because of like the writers or whatever, or Scott Gimple or whoever, somebody wanted him off the show for whatever stupid-ass reason, we could at least put the blame on the people that deserve it. But again, nobody's really ever blaming Andrew Lincoln, and it's ultimately his fault. Not to mention, of course, they haven't really even started working on these movies, right? And obviously, we had 2020, a lot of lockdowns. It's understandable why they couldn't do a lot of stuff within 2020. But there's been 3 years since he left the show, right? And he's been doing other shit. He's been in like 2 or 3 movies at least since he left The Walking Dead. So I gotta imagine that if he wasn't, working on those movies, he could have been working on the Walking Dead movies. So again, the blame is on him. Ultimately, the point of this video is that it's just been too long, dude. And yes, again, I'm gonna check it out when it comes out, but the interest has just gone. And there wasn't enough stuff within the show to really keep you enticed. They had a little bit. I remember. I can't even tell you the episode of the season, but I remember Michonne left to go on some ship looking for clues for Rick and found there was a cell phone with some shit scratched into it. It was Rick, and he's scratching something about Michonne and Judith or something like that. That was the thing I can remember from the show. There was kind of a little Easter egg towards Rick, and that's kind of it. And I think there's maybe a little bit of something in the most recent episode of World Beyond, but that show is fucking terrible, and I haven't been keeping up with it at all. So even if they couldn't get around to linking up with Andrew Lincoln's schedule to make these movies, they still haven't kept enough things within the Walking Dead universe to keep you anticipating these movies coming out. Because at this point, I mean, what do we have to go off? The background on this video on the screen is the little teaser we got some years ago, whenever he left the show, and it's Philadelphia or something, or I don't remember where it's at. It's a skyline of some city. This is how little interest I have, dude. How many times have I said in this video that I can't remember this or that? I've been so just away from the Walking Dead universe because it's not that interesting anymore. But this is all we've had is this teaser in the background. The skyline is where Rick's supposed to be, this city, and that's it for 3 years. My dudes, we gotta wrap up this video at some point because I could go forever talking about this. It just sucks as a fan. As somebody who's committed, 10 plus years of my life to this show, they just dropped the ball so hard in these last couple years with what is the most prominent character from the show. Even if it partially is Andrew Lincoln's fault, they couldn't link up with the schedule. He wanted to work on other projects. I get all that, but they could have still kept shit within the show. They could have been every couple of episodes, here's a Rick Grimes tease. Here's a Rick Grimes, oh, maybe he's over here. Maybe he's there. Maybe this will be in the movie. Something along those lines. They could have been something. They could have been doing some shit for the past couple of seasons, and they've not really done that. And it's just very deflating as a fan who's committed so much of their life to this show. That's the video, my dudes. Social networks are in the description below. Let me know your thoughts. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more. And nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine or leave it like Cobain.